Welcome, guys. I'm Karen Miller, and I'm so excited to be taking you on this journey of inspiration, insight, and discovery. One of the most important aspects of a joyful, happy life is to have balance between work, play, creativity, spirituality, rest, and in your relationships, most importantly, the relationship with yourself. It's when we don't have balance in our life, when we're working 7 days a week, either in a job or as a mum or dad or carer, that we get anxious, fearful, and depressed, and we feel like our life has no purpose. They're some of the important things we're going to be looking at this week. We're also going to be looking at your heart's desires, what you love to do, what brings you absolute joy and lights your heart up like a child. For many of us, we've forgotten what those things are as our hectic life takes over and our belief system of having to do more and more for ourselves and everyone around us takes hold. Taking time to do this one exercise and following through with honouring the time for yourself can be life-changing, and it'll give you the opportunity to breathe, feel the space around you, and navigate the road ahead with a clearer purpose. To start, I'm going to tell you a story to get you inspired, and then I want you to take the time to relax into a beautiful meditation, which you'll find down below, and then get moving with taking inspired action that will ultimately change your life. Enjoy. One of my favourite stories from the Jack Canfield Success Principles book is one about a young man named John Caleb, and Jack Canfield relays the story here in his book. On the last stop of a six-city Asian tour conducting Success Principles workshops, a young man named John Caleb approached me at a book signing in Manila's largest shopping mall. He was writing a newspaper column about successful people for the biggest newspaper in the Philippines and asked me for an interview. At the end of a very engaging hour, I told him that he was a great interviewer and asked how long he'd been doing it. With a sense of pride, he replied that I was his very first interviewee. He went on to say that up until recently, he and two partners had owned and operated 3 successful restaurants, but that bickering between the partners had eventually led to the failure of the business. John was now homeless, broke, and sleeping on couches in his friends' apartments. He'd taken public transportation to the book signing because he no longer owned a car, and all the money he had in the world was $3 cash left in his pocket. When I heard this, and because I liked John, I bought him a copy of the Success Principles from the bookstore and offered him a free seat in the next day's workshop. Giving him $20 to buy some food, I extracted a promise that if he liked it, he would write a feature article about the workshop. 2.5 years later, I returned to Manila to conduct another workshop. As I was getting ready to begin, I noticed a well-dressed man in a blue blazer and gold Doc Martens shoes, followed by an entourage of 10 people, all wearing the same polo shirt with a bright logo on it. I was curious, so I walked over to the group, and to my surprise and delight, the man in the blue blazer was John Caleb. He told me that he'd become one of the most successful businessmen in Manila. When John related the story of how he'd accomplished his success, I was so moved that I asked John to share it in his own words, and here it is now. Sitting in the seminar with my arms crossed tightly across my chest, I listened carefully as Jack Canfield described his principles for success. At first I was very sceptical. He had crazy ideas like cutting out pictures, pasting on a board, and looking at it every day, then feeling as though you already had what you wanted. My rational mind said, what a joke. Like looking at some pictures is going to help me get what I want. At one point, Jack even talked about Dr. Masaru Emoto's famous experiment with water crystals and showed pictures of how water can be affected by thoughts, words, and feelings. Though I was intrigued, I still wasn't convinced. With my mind full of doubts and questions, I returned home from the seminar and thought more about what Jack had shared. It soon dawned on me, Jack was a very, very successful guy who had used these principles. And here I was, totally broke. Who would I listen to? I asked myself. Besides, I'd lost everything. I had nothing else to lose. I decided to read the book he'd given me and diligently followed the principles for 1 year. Every week I worked with a different principle. I began using visualization and even created one of those crazy dream boards I'd been so skeptical about. The first image I cut out was a picture of a BMW, my dream car. At the time, I was so far away from affording any car, let alone a BMW. To get around, I worked or rode in a jeepney, a very crowded mode of public transportation in the Philippines. Soon, however, I used the principle to turn my doubt into trust. It worked, and within a year, I bought my first BMW. Another principle I discovered was Principle 2: be clear why you're here. When I was younger, I bounced from job to job just to make a living and pay bills. Then, during the seminar, Jack led us through an exercise to identify our deepest passion. I not only realised I have a love for teaching, but I began to identify it as my true gift and purpose. To begin taking action on this purpose, I created a breakthrough goal at the seminar to become the Philippines' leading success coach. I launched a series of seminars teaching the principles I'd learned from Jack. I started coaching and began consulting for different companies. My income quickly rose, and soon I was earning over 1,000,000 pesos, which in the Philippines is a lot of money. Next, I combined my interest in travel with my passion for teaching and began conducting seminars around the world. Today, my training company is the biggest profit centre of all the companies I own. Before, I hadn't been doing what I loved, so my success was hit or miss. Now I'm so enthusiastic about teaching these principles that people flock to see me. I've even earned 7 figures in one day. Jack has helped me to see that you really can have it all. My first vision board was created in 2006, and since then I've achieved more than 70% of what I set out to do. Because of the success principles, I'm the highest paid motivational speaker in the country, and I'm well on my way to becoming the Philippines' #1 success coach. If I can go from broke to becoming a star in my field just by living these principles, anyone can. I've also seen the results in the lives of my clients as thousands of my countrymen have achieved their dreams. Many were living a hand-to-mouth existence, but are now on their way to becoming multimillionaires. We are all living proof that the principles always work if you always work the principles.